What's up, Internet? This is the rear brake drum assembly on a 2002 Honda Civic. And the reason I want to make this little video is because this is a gentleman by the name of Larry's car, and on this part right here, and you can see how that seal is starting to open up, the seals let go on this rear cylinder on the other side. And so I figured, what the hell, and since we're doing both sides anyway, I already got the other side done, but I figured I'd show how it is that we're going to get this done. And so looking in here, you see how this seal is about pushed off already, and the other side is just full of crap. And I believe the reason for that is because it's probably just overextended. Looking how absolutely thin these shoes are out back here. There ain't nothing there to stop with. And so yeah, he was overextended to the point that it actually let go. And I'm sure with the amount of shit that we've got on everything in here, that it ended up getting some shit on the actual seals, and then, you know, it just started leaking. So we're gonna take care of that for him, and I've already done measurements, and the inside diameter of this guy actually checks out. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and taken that edge or that ridge off with my flap wheel. That makes it a whole lot easier taking it apart and putting it back together by the time you have actual shoes on your brakes out back. And then another thing is that when I go ahead and I start spinning and fitting and making sure that everything's okay, I kind of flap wheel this surface off as well, enough to where it's not going to grind on this edge when we go around and start making sure that the brakes are tight and adjusted properly. But yeah, so this is kind of what I want to show today. Thanks. Alright, so here we are again. Got everything cleaned up in this rear. Now you can actually see. And looking at it, these rubber boots on here were pretty fucked anyway on this side as well. And it would have been a matter of time if we'd have just done the one side before he'd have been leaking on the other. So I'm working under the assumption that everybody watching knows how to do the rear brakes. So we won't go into the rear brakes so much as we're going to go into the actual seals and that. So I'm of course going to be doing the new, rear brakes. Got shoes, got hardware kit. The other half is already installed on the other side of the vehicle. And we've got the actual seals here. And these are the seals. Here's the part number. This is an O'Reilly part number. I like O'Reilly's. I firmly believe that they are the better parts place. Napa has some shit that you can't find anywhere else, but if you go to Napa, you're paying for the dealership to get a better price. There you go. Smart answer says O'Reilly's is the place you want to be spending your money. I don't believe in the other AutoZone. I think they're garbage. I think they're a bunch of retards, and their computer will tell you that your car doesn't have things that it does have. Okay, so what this kit is going to have is the outer O-ring and the inner O-ring. Okay, very simple. You're not going to be mistaken. The two outers are the same, the two inners are the same. Now note on the inner, and I'm going to set this phone down for a second because that's all I got to record with today, but note on the inner that this guy has a bit of a directionality to it. It's got a shelf to where it's going to scoop and catch oil. And so to exaggerate it, I'm going to say my finger is pointing like this. That's the angle of that scoop. Okay, that's the way you want it to sit, is like that. And now let's put the whole thing into perspective. Okay, so looking at this guy, we're going to look at the front ram, and we want this angle 45 like that. Basically, if this were an arrow, you want this side pointing to the front of the car, and the one for the rear, you want that arrow pointing toward the rear. And it's real simple to get at these seals. Obviously this ring here is going to be the catch for the first one, and the first one, there's another ring in the actual piston, we're going to call it. Okay, and then the second ring, and we'll probably get some brake fluid out of this side. Here's the second ring, and that's the one, and you can see how it's kind of faded, that arrow, but if that were an arrow, it would be pointing to the left of the screen, to my fingers. Okay, just the same like how I was holding it before. And when you take this thing apart, I grab it with a needle nose pliers and I try and slip it off, and I try and slip it off to the right, because to the right is the least amount of seal that you're going to damage metal in the process. To the left is where you're going to have that metal on metal, that's that machined edge that should be really nice and smooth, and it should not leak, and you want it to be able to slide in good on that. So that's how you're going to get in there, and that's how you're going to replace your seals. Another thing is that when you take that other one out, there's a spring inside here that goes in between. Don't lose the spring. It's kind of important. It centers those two pins, those two pistons. This is the spring. It goes in the center. And to the best of my knowledge, it's not like you have a left and a right piston. They should be the same distance. They should be the same everything. But I frankly have never taken one out, or rather I've never taken them both out at the same time. So I couldn't tell you for sure. I like to just do one side, put it back together, do the other side, put it back together, and then, you know, carry on putting brakes back together and then start bleeding. But that's how I'm going to be taking care of these seals, because that seal was leaking on the back side. And that's the secret there. Okay, thanks for watching. Alright, so here's the finished product. Get the old hub off. Sucks to do it with one hand. But there we have it. Everything's all cleaned up and put back together. So now we have good outer and inner seals at the pistons here. We have good pads. We have fresh springs, fresh hardware all the way around. And so this gentleman will be ready to stop without issue. And just to say, in case he decides to watch this video one day, I did both sides. Okay, the same. New seals, new hardware, new springs, front to back. This side is a little more wet yet because I freaking had to crack the bleeder on the back side and it was stuck, and I didn't close it all the way, so I made a little bit of a mess on the back. But it works, it's good, it's happy, it's ready, and once I bleed it, it's going to be another happy 2002 Honda Civic back on the road, ready to roll. Boom, boom, boom.